Welcome back to Albums of the Year. Today we're going to be listening to a new album by The Smile, and it's called A Light for Attracting Attention. So this just came out last Friday, and it's kind of a Radiohead album in every sense of the word, except for it's not technically a Radiohead album. You know, it's got most of the members, or at least a couple of the members of Radiohead, and it has a similar sound for sure. They released like 7 tracks as singles, so most of the album was already out before the album was out.
Half of it.
Yeah. And I did listen to almost all the singles, and then I have listened to it a few times since it came out, but it's still pretty new to me. And you haven't listened to it at all?
No, I think I listened to the first single that came out, and then I was like, they just kept releasing singles, and I was like, I'm not going to spoil the album.
Yeah, it was a weird launch. I don't know why they were releasing so much. Maybe they were like still figuring out what the track list would be, and then
or they wanted to maybe hype up their album since this is a new name.
Yeah, could be, but a lot of people were kind of frustrated with the release because it's like, just put out the album already instead of releasing so many singles. But I don't know, if you showed restraint like you did, then you won't be spoiled for the album.
Yeah.
I could not necessarily show that much restraint. I really liked the sounds of the singles, so I kept listening.
I'm liking what the auto suggestions are on Spotify. You got
Oblique.
I've seen this for a lot. But yeah, there's post-punk 2K, noisy,
pulp, folk.
Folk fabrique.
Interesting.
So very strange bunch of. It could be anything really.
Yeah.
That's cool. And the album cover is pretty trippy.
It's pretty trippy, yeah. Like it's kind of unlike any other like Radiohead related album cover, I'd say. Maybe closest to like something like The Eraser, but even then it's like it looks like Canada too.
Oh yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
I can see it. Okay.
But yeah, let's start with the first track called The Same.
Is this going to be the same as a Radiohead song? Or is it going to be a new sound? That's the question.
Yeah.
Move this down closer.
Sure.
At the moment, I'm getting Anima vibes.
That was the last project.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I'd say Suspiria and Anima both kind of like factor into the sound of this a lot, but there's a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm. Really weird syncopated timing here. I like it.
And the vocal effects are like, it's like a pre-delay.
Yeah, like a preverb.
Preverb, yeah. Yeah.
Very interesting. Not what I was expecting.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, a lot of... Well, just the instrumentation in general was very, varietous, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's the piano for sure in there. A lot of synth work that was like really subtle and muted. Percussion was like almost not there.
Yeah, it was just very light tapping.
Yeah.
And then there was guitar work in there.
There was, like, very subtly, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a lot of subtle elements all kind of playing off of each other. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Even
pretty
the
low
vocals
key
were very
album
subtle.
opener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they usually start their albums with more of like a I don't know, like a bigger song.
Yeah.
And like this is like almost like just a more almost ominous like atmosphere.
Yeah, it was kind of haunting. It's
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, so the next track's called The Opposite.
Cool. Which plays thematically after the last track's name.
For sure.
I'm liking the percussion, like the production of this percussion.
Oh yeah.
Very crisp. Very much so. Oh, this is so King of Limbs.
It is, right?
Wow.
Like Morning Mr. Magpie or
I was
something like that.
literally thinking that song, yeah.
But more like the live versions.
Yeah.
But that higher pitched guitar, doesn't it remind you of like Identikit? Or like the moon-shaped pool kind of guitar tone?
Sounded almost like reversed.
Yeah.
Very weird.
It's cool with headphones because it like pans across every time.
The song has a great edge to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, Thom Yorke's vocals are like washed in like a weird big reverb.
Yeah, totally. They're still in the background of this song.
Yeah. Is this a concept album?
Not really. I'm sure there are some themes lyrically that tie it together, but I haven't really focused on lyrics at all yet.
Yeah. Like, no, I could see this being like post-punk adjacent if there was no reverb in the mix.
Yes,
Because then it
post-punk
would just-
doesn't have reverb.
No, yeah. It's definitely not mixed or like produced like reverb or like post-punk, but the elements themselves like are pretty post-punky how they play into each other rhythmically.
Yeah.
It's all very smooth, like how
It's produced so well, isn't it? Like, just Nigel Godrich being great.
yeah, it meshes really well.
But yeah, you can tell there's like really good band chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, that was the second track. The Opposite.
It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a different vibe than the first one, but it kind of keeps a lot of the same elements,
Mm-hmm.
Especially in like Thom Yorke's like vocal effects and stuff, and just the general kind of feel of it all is very subdued and subtle rather
Yeah.
than being in your face and intense and stuff. So.
Except that was just a more energetic track than the first one.
Yeah.
Basically, had more drumming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No.
even the drumming, like it still felt very ambient, like it was like floating or like a blur rather than it being like a very clear thing. And I think that mostly that's a production thing.
Yeah.
Production choice. They kind of made it almost like a haze rather than a you can hear all the instruments clearly. No, it's just very well blended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you've heard this song before, I think. This is the first single. You'll Never Work in Television Again.
I don't remember that name, but yeah, maybe I've heard it.
Maybe you've heard it.
Maybe I listened to like the second single or something.
Maybe you did, yeah. There's so many. But yeah, this is the first track they dropped, and people were like, whoa, like, what the heck's the sound of this album going to be?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a short song. It's less than 3 minutes. Is it 5/4?
It's 5/4, yeah. It took a second for me because of how they emphasize things.
Yeah.
This is very punk singing.
It is. It hasn't sounded like this since like the Bends, basically.
Yeah. That progression though, like with the guitars and how it moves, almost feels like post rock, which is really weird.
True. Some horns in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a Neutral Milk Hotel sound.
Yeah. Again, very subtle though.
I think the song's about like people like in the Hollywood who've like been like sexual abusers or just on TV, I guess.
Yeah.
The Bill O'Reillys of the world.
Wow. That was definitely produced in many ways differently than the first two. It was,
Definitely.
like those crashing rides or whatever were a lot more, not really abrasive. Like they still kind of were smooth with everything else, but they did feel like they did stand out a lot more. There were definitely less subtle elements, and the singing was produced differently too.
Oh yeah.
Kind of an interesting direction for them to take this album.
I think the first 3 songs lay out decently well, like what the sounds you'll expect should be now, because like it's a decently long album, like in terms of track list. It's 13 songs, and I think like this is kind of like the 3 styles. Like they have like the more synth driven, more atmospheric songs, the more kind of like post punky rhythmic songs, and then the more like just straight up rock punk type tracks. So there's a lot of variety on this album, is what I like got from the first listen.
Cool.
So yeah, next track is called Pana-Vision. This is one of my favorites.
It's very like ethereal when it's produced. Really weird timing, Elvis.
Oh yeah. I just love Thom's vocals on this song.
Yeah, very smooth. That classic falsetto that's just so strong.
Yeah.
So piercing.
Like the cell strings in the background. Eh?
Yeah. That piano and like horn, just a production of all of this. Yeah, it feels very Moonshaped cool, which is
Does. Kind of reminds me of like what's it called? Spectre.
yes, actually. Yeah, the song's very similar to Spectre. Yeah.
Such a high note.
I think a song's 7/8 time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, the song really does feel like a continuation of the sound from Spectre. Like,
Yeah,
it's like they're like, we really like this sound, but like it wasn't appreciated. It wasn't added in the movie. So like, we're just gonna make more of this kind of music. We like it.
Yeah. Like Jonny Green is just so good at crafting awesome like orchestral arrangements, right?
Yeah, totally. So far, I definitely got the sense that they. I think this. Sorry, I just distracted. I think the smoke was the one that I've. If that was.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that was another single.
That was the one I listened to. But yeah, no, I definitely got the sound that like there's a really cool interplay between like rhythm and, you know, interesting time signatures and stuff, which you'd normally find in more, you know, math rock or punk kind of genres.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also have the regular kind of like Radiohead ambience like to it,
Yeah.
and like almost electronic elements and that sort of thing, and like orchestration and all of that. And it's like the melding of these two worlds is just kind of mind-boggling.
It's awesome.
It's like I don't know how no other bands do that. Like
Yeah.
you almost never hear of symphonic math rock or symphonic post-punk. Like that's like those just don't really meld, but like here it melds perfectly somehow. It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So the smoke, another great track. But you've heard this one. You'll probably recognize it if you've heard it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, Jonny Greenwood really is like the MVP on this album, I think, because like, I mean, they're all amazing, but like, his guitar work is so cool, and the string arrangements are so good.
Is this him playing the bass line?
Yeah, I think so. I think so, yeah. Like, I guess it could be Thom, but I really doubt it. He doesn't play bass like that complicated. He has played bass before, but usually does like the more simple riffs.
Yeah.
If this is him, I'm impressed.
I might learn this on bass after.
Yeah, this would be cool to jam to.
Yeah. The time signature changes there or something. It's just losing it.
Like the saxophones.
Yeah.
The song is just so smooth.
Oh yeah. It also feels like very meticulous. Like it's pretty simple, but then they added elements that like really work and like only put them in there for as long as they feel they need to. You know.
Totally.
The same reaction to it the first time, essentially.
Mhm.
Like, cool.
It's just a cool song.
Yeah.
It's a good jam. Yeah, I do think this song like it doesn't have as much of like a high point as the others. It's kind of just more or whatever, but it's just such a cool song to I don't know, just a vibe to. Like I love the rhythms in it. I love the like kind of middle section that rises up with like the subtle strings and horns. It's like it's so I don't know, it's so good. And like they show a lot of restraint in that song.
Yeah, a lot of restraint for sure.
Yeah, like they don't really just indulge the ideas. They kind of just like keep it like just as much as it needs to be before going back to the main part.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, kind of reminds me. That song reminds me of like a little bit of stuff on Anima as well. Like I think Impossible Knots is the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of rhythm or whatever. Like you can definitely tell that's what Thom Yorke wanted. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, track 6 is called Speech Bubbles. This is not one I remember too well, because it's one of the newer tracks.
I feel like I've heard a similar like guitar line to this.
Probably another Radiohead song.
Yeah.
The rhythm's very much something you have in a Radiohead song.
I feel like there's a Hail to the Thief song or something in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, like playing with like complex rhythms and bass lines and that sort of thing. This one's obviously less complex than the other ones, but kind of playing with that, but then mixing it in with the ambient stuff.
Yeah.
The song's definitely more the ambient side of it. Key change. So many instant modulations about it. It's like, wow. I felt like there was like a really dark ascent and then just like a descent from there.
Yeah.
The song overall was very melancholic.
Very, yeah. Like that was a very moon-shaped pool song, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's a good one. It just never stood out to me on my first listen or so, but it's really cool. Yeah. Definitely a more moody song.
Yeah, very moody. And yeah, definitely, and how it's produced too, a lot of moon-shaped pool elements, you know, like the kind of subdued guitar and like almost background percussion, and then the, you know, the soaring vocals and the piano flourishes and the like orchestral elements.
Strings kind of just swell in the background.
Swelling, yeah, exactly.
Like kind of like in glass eyes a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's a cool song. The track 7 is called Thin Thing.
The visuals they have are very strange.
I know, right? This from a music video, I think.
I think it's just 6/8 time, but it's really interesting, the, like notes that they accentuate.
Yeah.
It's such a weird guitar line. Like,
It is. Like, what kind of scale is that?
yeah, it feels like if you put like an arpeggiator on a chord for guitar, and it's just.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine how they play this. Like, so it's weird. The song is rhythmically so complex.
Yeah.
Is Radiohead like band as a band?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this is where like Tom Yorke felt like going with the music.
The vocals got like garbled up and dissonant, or like a distortion at the end. I want to see the music video of this.
I actually haven't seen it. Yeah, it looks kind of spooky.
Yeah.
But yeah, very definitely one of the more like rockier songs,
Yeah.
but also still very I don't know, meticulously composed,
Yeah.
complex, very tight groove.
Yeah, definitely. Again, straddling that line between like ambience and like orchestral elements with like really weird and like complex grooves. It's like, very strange how they're able to do that.
Yeah. And there's a lot of weird effects in that song too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I like the
Rhythm
part
and
where it was like overtaken almost by like a wash of ambience. It was just like just taken away,
yeah.
like a person evaporating into smoke.
Okay, so we're on track 8, which is called Open the Floodgates. This was actually an old Radiohead song.
Oh.
Played live, but they never released it. I think it was from like the King of Limbs era.
Cool.
Fade in.
I like the piano elements. Yeah. I feel like Thom Yorke's piano is always so like I don't know how to describe it, like wonderful almost.
Mhm.
Like it's full of wonder. And I think it's the use of like major sevenths often have that effect. But
Yeah.
I love the interplay between the kind of muted synth arpeggiator and then the piano. It's really cool.
Just add another layer.
Oh
to
yeah.
it. And the guitar. It's all so wonderfully subtle.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this song. I love that high harmony there. It's actually like right out of Low Roar, which is funny because I think Low Roar was inspired by Radiohead.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Laura. Good artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very pretty song.
Yeah. Yeah, very relaxing in kind of a folky way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know. It's really up there with like a lot of those really nice like Thom Yorke piano ballad songs for me. It's just really cool. Like it has a similar vibe to like Daydreaming or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or like even some old OK Computer era songs like what's it called? How I Made My Millions or A Reminder or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it's just very simple instrumentation, but it's just kind of like a calm, sort of mildly sad sort of song.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next track is, I think it continues this vibe a bit, and it's called Free in the Knowledge.
Some acoustic guitar. It's not common for Radiohead and Thom Yorke and stuff.
No.
Like actually the only radio I'm just thinking like High and Dry would be like the last release I've heard that had like obvious acoustic.
Give up the Ghost.
Really? I don't think of that song.
Pretty strong
Yes.
acoustic guitar.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
Desert Island Disc. a little bit.
You're right.
It's subtle, but it's still there.
Yeah.
For context, this was made during like COVID, like during lockdown and Thom Yorke debuted this live, like for the first live show he did in years, and it was like pretty emotional.
Mm-hmm. this final part is like really impactful because it's been very like drifting and big, and now it's like closing in, you know, a little bit more driven.
Yeah.
Some Brian Eno ambience at the end. Or Harold Blood ambience.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. That to me is like one of the standouts. On the
Yeah,
album.
totally. I really like that.
Yeah. I think the piano at the end is very just like a moon-shaped pool, and the production of this song is very moon-shaped pool. Like, I almost could have been on that album. But it's just like, yeah, I love the acoustic flourishes, the more upfront vocals, and like,
Yeah.
yeah, this song was definitely more like kind of a more instantly impactful song, right?
Totally. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, those are really very impactful song for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it just sounds really heartfelt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I always love when like Radiohead songs sort of build up kind of at the end, right? I think the speech bubbles in this one kind of have done that so far, which is really good. So yeah, next track, I actually don't remember what it's called. I think it's a hairdryer. Yeah, hairdryer.
Okay, this is more in line with older Thom Yorke solo stuff.
Yeah. More of a King of Limbs type song.
Or like I was thinking Amok kind of songs.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, like the really precise kind of percussion, the muted synth stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the vocal layers is so close and the other one's like so drifting, right?
Yeah. How the vocals are produced and some of the lyrics, like Crocodile, is very King Gizzard-esque. I'm like,
Oh yeah?
huh. Not a band I would ever expect to be compared to Radiohead, but
Yeah.
Thom Yorke is that
Often hears low vocals.
No. I came in on like a really dissonant note. It's like, wow.
Yeah. This reminds me a little bit of like Black Star, David Bowie.
Yeah, yeah, with the weird dark harmonies. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Ooh. Again, really haunting ascent.
Yeah.
That was such a cool part. What the heck? I love that. My hands are hurting just imagining playing this like on drums.
Yeah, the drumming is
This
pretty
so
complicated.
fast and complicated. I think it was mostly like not that complicated rhythmically, but like it was fast, and then there were fills that were just like
A lot of stamina.
yeah. The forearm strength you need to keep that up. Has Thom Yorke ever released like an actual ambient album?
Yeah, I think so. Well, actually, it's not unreleased, but he did this long ambient like art installation thing for a museum. Plus, they have their app, the Polyphona thing.
Right.
And then a lot of Suspiria, the soundtrack.
I was thinking
is
Suspiria.
ambient. This is a lot like that, actually.
Yeah.
This end part could definitely be on that soundtrack. We're gonna watch that movie this week.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, totally good.
Kind of reminds me of like Boards of Canada a bit too.
especially with that kind
The
of like
detune sound.
yeah,
Right here.
yeah, totally. I think it's called a modulator. Detunes it in and out.
Yeah, Hairdryer never stood out to me on earlier listens, but now I'm like, wow, the song's like, it's really dark.
Yeah, I'm moving like on that.
Like, it's really ominous and like it builds up really interesting, right? Kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It's a cool one.
Yeah, and that part with like the really haunting like harmonies going on there. It's like, whoa.
With the lower vocals and yeah.
Yeah. And how that kind of built up. Like it was like higher harmonies and then the lower harmonies would drop and it would just get kind of higher. Really, really cool how that happened.
Yeah, and then I just like how the last minute is just that kind of eerie ambience to leave you on.
Yeah.
Alright, with the last stretch of the album, I think there's like 3 songs left. So this one's called Waving a White Flag.
Cool.
Also kind of a Boards of Canada synth a little bit.
Yeah, I like the arpeggiator loops and stuff. That's actually like something that King Gizzard did with one of the recent albums, where they just had arpeggiator loops and then they just jammed on them and then they moved on to another arpeggiator loop just seamlessly. So it was almost like a live album almost in how it was produced.
It's cool.
Just kind of like a sequence continuing onwards very nicely. Very cool.
There's like a guitar arpeggio matched by the acoustic a little bit, right?
Yeah. Kind of like the Rip by Portishead.
Yeah.
Except in that one it starts with acoustic and then
And it
synth
adds the
kind
synth
of
arpeggio.
yeah, and then it kind of reverses it out. That makes a lot of sense that like Bloom, what's the one? Ocean Bloom exists.
Yeah.
Because like
The Hans Zimmer version.
Hans Zimmer and Thom Yorke or like in Greenwood kind of thing. It works so well. Like it's
Oddly enough, yeah.
Couldn't scratch your door down is such like a wow, what a lyric. Paints such an image. I think this is like 11/8 time.
Yeah, it's some kind of weird time signature.
Such a weird scale going on here.
I know, right?
Like it can't decide if it's major or minor, so it's just doing both. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on. Very cool. I feel like that's like a song you could like analyze on multiple levels, like,
Yeah.
music theory wise. Very cool.
Also, just a great atmosphere for that song,
Yeah.
right? It's so cool. It's so dark, but also like eerie, right?
Yeah, and you just get like this sense of like I don't know if it's a narrator or like a person the narrator's talking about, but like like this just so pathetic and almost like abusive person. It's like, huh.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, it like seems like the narrator like couldn't escape them, or but it's almost like the narrator's taunting the person who couldn't escape this thing, right? Or person or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably a metaphor for something like climate change, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, second last track is called "We Don't Know What Tomorrow Brings."
Cool. Very much a Tomorrow is Modern Boxes kind of title.
Oh,
Nice.
when I first heard the song, I was reminded of Jigsaw falling into place.
Yeah. I like this rhythm is really fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see the jigsaw, yeah. The vocals and how they play off of the groove.
Yeah.
the guitar tones and like the general production of this, oddly enough, is very similar to a lot of like indie rock that I've heard these days.
Oh, cool.
There's like a particular like subgenre of like punk adjacent indie rock that people listen to and sing along to in their bedrooms. Like it's like a particular vibe.
Very fat synths.
Yeah. That song was pretty consistent, I guess. Like it felt like just very cohesive, didn't really go that many places,
No.
but it just kind of was like really constant, cool
It's
energy.
one of the most like radio friendly songs you've ever made. Like
Yeah.
Yorke's ever written in the last like 20 years. Yet this was not a single, which is so funny. I guess they didn't want to like represent the album by that song, but yeah. It is similar in styles like the You Will Never Work in Television Again, right? Like they're probably the most similar, the kind of punkier songs. But yeah.
Yeah, this album I think would have benefited. Like I've liked the song so far, but I think it would have benefited from like more of this style, like going further with this. Maybe if the Smile releases another album, it'd be really cool to see them like go all out with this kind of sound. Because yeah, I don't know, I really like this sound. And I feel like you don't really get much of this from Radiohead, except for maybe in like Hail to the Thief era. But
Yeah, that's the last time they really rocked out on an album for
Yeah.
like more than a few songs.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like usually listen to newer Radiohead for like the more mellow sound, right? Like
Yeah.
there's In Rainbows On, and this has had that plus some of these more punkier, heavier songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this one wasn't actually that heavy. It was pretty.
No, it wasn't that heavy, but it was like a lot more energetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Radiohead are never that heavy in their
Uh,
sound, right? Like maybe a few songs on Hail to the Thief or the Bends.
Moonshaped Pool had some. Okay, it depends on how you mean heavy. Yeah. If you mean like heavy as in
No, I mean,
distorted
like-
guitars
yeah,
and
that's what I
stuff.
mean.
Yeah, yeah. Heavy as in like lyrical and like
Oh yeah,
stuff. Very, but
very much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, that's a kind of a staple of their later music, but well, all their music, but like no, I mean like heavier rock.
yeah,
sound.
something like Meyer and Lung or whatever.
Yeah, like I think like Body Snatchers is kind of heavy, and like
Myxomatosis.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say like 2 + 2 = 5, I guess. Like
Yeah.
there are a couple songs on later Radiohead, but like mostly that kind of ended with OK Computer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's why it's kind of cool to see them go to this sound a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like none of Tom Yorke's solo music has gone near there.
It's
Even
more,
Atoms for
it's always
Peace.
more like the electronic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Which is a really cool sound that like Radiohead doesn't really go into. So
No,
it's cool to see that side, right?
yeah, like he really explored that on his own, and there's still elements of that in this album.
Totally. Yeah.
But yeah. So last track is called "Skirting on the Surface," and this is another unreleased Radiohead song from the King of Limbs era that was put on here.
I think I've heard of this song, but I don't know if I've ever heard the actual song.
They played it live quite a bit. People were like, "Oh, is this going to be on the new album?" And it wasn't. But there's a lot of new songs on Moonshaped Pool that were
Right, like Identikit and stuff. Yeah.
Trail of Waits,
Right.
Burn the Witch even.
I didn't know that. Cool.
It didn't sound nearly like that, but yeah, that was an old song too.
This is 11:8, but just really fast. So maybe like 11:16, I think. is what you
Yeah.
call it. I love how impossible this music is to bob your head to.
Yeah. Love the way those guitars sound.
Yeah. I also love how they're both playing the same thing, but one is like slightly behind the other. Really cool. I could not imagine drumming to this song. It's like,
Yeah.
what? You'd have to really feel the time signature.
The drummer is from Sons of Kemet, which is a jazz band, so
That probably helps a lot.
yeah.
Oh, cool. Sounds like really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that album Back to the Future was amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. friends with like a really good jazz drummer, and he's played along to King of Limbs and stuff, like,
Oh,
on the
nice.
drums and stuff. And, like, but yeah, I've tried to show him like some weird time signature stuff, and he's like, I can't touch that. It's just, it's too weird. It's like a whole new world, like different time, like odd time signatures, a whole new world musically. Like it's
Yeah.
really
That's a good one. What a cool way to close the album, right?
Yeah. Like just a jam on one cool guitar line, and just everything kind of swells around it.
Mm-hmm.
And the vocals are very ambient, you know.
Totally.
Very cool. I felt like, yeah, that song just completely blissed me out. Like, it was like, ah.
It's just a great vibe. Like, you don't even notice it's the longest song on the album.
Was it?
Yeah. 5.5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the album.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I was, I didn't really come in with any expectations, but it was...
It's one benefit of changing the name of the band.
Yeah.
Or just going under a new band is like... Radiohead now, when they release an album, are just like, there's so much expectation there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually they still match it, but like... or exceed it. I'd say even with I think a Moonshaped Pool exceeded a lot of people's expectations what like a later career Radiohead album could be like, right?
Well, then I think on the other end,
King of Limbs
disappointed
a lot of
disappointed people, which people just didn't like it, and it's like, okay, if this was any other band releasing this would be like a masterpiece. For
Exactly.
that band. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay,
It's just because they have like, I mean, their last album was In Rainbows, so it's and their back catalog's so good. So it's like, I feel like releasing an album under the Smile, like, yeah, I mean, Radiohead fans will know, but a lot of other people will just be like, oh, what's this new band? They're so cool. And then they'll learn, oh, I see Radiohead or whatever, right? But it's like, it's disconnected enough that it's like, they can kind of do whatever they want necessarily.
Yeah.
And there's no expectation there for people to be like, oh, well, it's not Radiohead good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I feel like they were definitely, this is a very exploratory album.
Mhm.
Like,
There's a lot of
sonically.
variety on these songs, right?
Yeah, sonically, it seemed like they were just trying to figure out their sound for this new band, and so they definitely went into many different areas, and probably different fans will like different areas more, right? You'll have probably some Radiohead fans who are like really into the Moonshaped Pool sound.
I think
They're
that's for
really
me
more
what I liked
into
the
that,
most
yeah.
about this was that I like the more emotional songs, like kind of piano-driven songs that are just mostly about Thom Yorke's voice, ambience, synths kind of thing. And
Yeah.
there's plenty of that on this album, but I'm sure people will like the jazzier elements on this too, the more post-punk sound
Yeah.
too. Like there's so much here, right?
I felt that I liked that, like those elements a little bit more, because it just did stand out from the Moonshaped Pool sound.
For sure.
And also just all the time signature stuff and syncopation and rhythms, and
Yeah.
I live for that, so it was really cool to see so many interesting elements in this album.
No, it's really complicated. Like I think a lot of these songs will definitely like you'll probably appreciate them, and I'll probably appreciate them a lot more on further listens too.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
this is definitely like I could see this being more of a grower album
Yeah.
than necessarily one that's like super accessible. Besides a few tracks.
Yeah, I think there were like 2 songs in this album that had 11/8 or 11/16.
Yeah, there were.
Which like you never see 11.
It was Waving a White Flag and then the last track. Right?
Yeah, you like never see that time signature, so it was really cool to hear that. Like I've heard that in jazz and stuff, but like outside of that, no.
Well,
really
then the
cool.
song "Thin Thing" was just had a really weird time signature as well.
I think it was like 7/8.
It was like in 7/8 the whole time.
Yeah, and then there's another one that was in 6/8, but they kept doing weird
Yeah.
change ups with like syncopation and stuff, so it did not feel like 6/8.
No, a lot of these tracks are built on such a cool groove that's in like a jazzy time signature, right? And they just kind of build on that with all the great elements each member brings. Like the
Yeah.
drummer, of course, bring the rhythms, and then Jonny Greenwood playing all these like really intricate guitar parts with his really cool, distinct guitar tones. And then of course like the horns, synths, saxophones, and strings like add a lot.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have the Thom Yorke like direction of a lot of the songs and the kind of same atmosphere that his music has, right?
Yeah, and his like transcendent vocals, like soaring over everything.
Yeah.
It's like you can't find that anywhere else. So.
That's another thing. Like I feel like the vocals on this album in general stood out more to me than on even a Moonshaped Pool. Like there's a lot of like really good vocal lines and like songs that, and there's more range I think that he has on Moonshaped Pool. Not that that album's like bad in any way vocally. It's amazing, but like I think that some people are like, oh, is he doesn't have the vocal chops he used to anymore. But then like it's not. Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
It's just sometimes on a solo work, obviously the vocals take a bit of a backseat to the more electronic aspects, right? But then when he's with a band, I feel he shines more, So,
yeah. Overall, I feel like I definitely got more Adams for Peace vibes from this, like as in the band, coming out, having an essentially Radiohead sound, but doing it in a way that has maybe a different band makeup.
Yeah.
So it feels different,
I think this is a lot more has more life to it though than the Adams for Peace album has. Like I like that album, but this I feel like is a lot more impressive and it feels more organic and like more, like I love the live.
I feel like it
sound
is a lot
of this.
deeper as
and
well.
deeper, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot more variety to the sound too. I feel like Amok kind of gets a bit old by the end. Like I like the last few tracks the most, but it's very samey, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the start of it is definitely less.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little weaker, but yeah, this album is really cool. I'm going to be getting into this in the future.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's awesome. I'm just glad there's like more Thom Yorke content in general too. So
yeah,
I'll always listen to that basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good music coming out these days. So.
Yeah, this is an amazing year for music actually.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this album dropped the same day as the new Kendrick Lamar album, and it's really good. So, but yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time for whatever album we listen to next, or maybe a video on a certain year. So
yeah.
Until next time.